Like these are there.
Ladies and gentlemen, gather around for a unique look into the world of custom motorcycling. We've gathered some of the industry's top builders and fabricators on this stage to show you their skills live and in person. Watch as they chop, grind, and weld their creations into existence right before your very eyes. Feel free to ask questions at any time directly to your host, Pat Jansen. The doors to the shop are open, so pull up a stool, kick back, and welcome to the Grease and Gears Garage.
Hold on, he's looking at me. I guess not. I don't know. Yeah. I guess try it again. Our video never plays. We can't ever hear the sound of the video when it comes on.
Ladies and gentlemen, gather around for a unique look into the world of custom motorcycling. We've gathered some of the industry's top builders and fabricators on this stage to show you their skills live and in person. Watch as they chop, grind, and weld their creations into existence right before your very eyes. Feel free to ask questions at any time directly to your host, Pat Jansen. The doors to the shop are open, so pull up a stool, kick back, and welcome to the Grease and Gears Garage.
All right, guys. Progressive Motorcycle Insurance has been kind enough to bring Grease and Gears Garage to Leesburg Bikefest. My name's Pat Jansen. I'll be hosting you here today for the next about 50 minutes. What's Grease and Gears Garage? We are nothing less than miraculous. We're all very good-looking, talented, bright, wealthy individuals. We never tell a lie. Are you a Boy Scout too?
I'll back that up.
Hey, he'll back it up. They'll all back it up. Now, we're just a bunch of dirty mechanics. We travel around the country with our tools, and we're into custom motorcycles. So we invite people to come be with us that are our friends that have custom motorcycle shops and participate in the industry. And we open up a little window. We invite you basically into a shop, Environment Grease and Gears Garage. So if you have questions, feel free to step up to the edge of the stage and ask them. We do everything from narrowing tanks, building fuel tanks from scratch, springers, frames. We do it all on Grease and Gears Garage. We also Facebook Live it, so you'll see me interacting a little bit with that. You'll be joined here at Leesburg Bikefest by 20 or 30,000 people around the world that pick this up Facebook Live. If you miss something or you want to keep up, it makes a good resource. We actually have a YouTube channel, Grease and Gears Garage. You can go there and check out all the old clips. And you can check out anything you see here this weekend or go to Cycle Source Magazine. The other thing I want to say up front before we get started with Barry from Accurate Engineering is Progressive Motorcycle Insurance is giving away a brand new Indian Scout. So you can go right over and see one of their lovely Progressive girls. Sign up for that. Get a chance to win. It's free to enter. Go ahead and enter up, and who knows, this year you might have a brand new Scoot under you. So, ladies and gentlemen, we've all the way from Alabama, we've brought Barry Wardlaw from Accurate Engineering. Barry is a legend in the motorcycle industry. He told us yesterday, just for one customer alone, he built over 800 motors. Today what he's going to do is he's going to be finishing up a little bit about what we started last night at 7 o'clock. He's tearing down a Panhead motor, going through it, showing us what we need to check in that. And so if you want to catch the first half of this, you can go to Grease and Gears Garage on YouTube. But Barry, kind of catch us up with where we are and over the next 45 minutes where we're headed.
Well, what we did yesterday was took Chris Callan's engine. It had been delivered here. Oh, good morning. How y'all doing? Looking good. And it's a 49 EL Panhead. The EL stands for 61 cubic inches or 1,000 cc's. We don't know if that's what's in the motor. We're about to find out.
That's just what was stamped on the outside of the case.
Yeah, and we could do a little cylinder measurement and stuff, and we'll do that in a minute. But what we did is we disassembled the top end, and I started out yesterday by when you start these projects, first do no harm. The first damn thing we did was we didn't have a sprocket shaft up, and we put vice grips on the threads. So there you go. But what we're going to do is now we can rotate the motor. So we've got the top end off, and I wanted to show something about before you guys got here, we took the last piston off. But I have the piston and the snap ring, and a lot of people have problems with these snap rings. And can you see the monitor? Can you see this camera here? I don't know what you guys can see. Well, you may have pulled your, until I started messing with these, my hair was brown. These are called spiral lock rings for the wrist pin. There's multiple kinds. There's a true arc. There's a kind that goes over the wrist pin. These can be aggravating as hell. And one of the things that you see is they come very flat. But you pull it apart and it's like a spiral. And it barely has a little nipple or a tit on the end that you can grab with a scratch awl. When it receives into the ring of the piston, you can hardly see that. It's almost impossible. So you always inspect, or you should inspect your piston prior to that. If your piston does not have a notch in it, go to a machine shop, or if you have the ability to do it yourself, and put a small notch on the outside so you can get a scratch awl in there to get under this tit, and your hair will still be brown. This one did not, but this was Chris's piston. Now we want to show this. This is the rear exhaust side of his piston. These are KB piston, hyper-eutectic, nice stuff. But we see a lot of galling here. Let's see this camera here.
Either one of those over there.
Right. We see a lot of galling here. And that could be caused from a couple of things. But when we pull these apart, we want to look at the thrust face of the piston. This doesn't have a lot of wear pattern on it, oddly enough. It's got some kick at the bottom. In other words, it's wider at the bottom of the thrust face, the wear area, than at the top. But sometimes you'll see these straight, sometimes you'll see these slanted, and sometimes you will see an S. That's telling you about your bore, your deck, and the straightness of your rod where your wrist pin goes through to the deck of your crankcases. On reassembly, always check that stuff. The slanted is a bent piston. The S is a bent and twisted wrist pin, rod, a bent and twisted rod, or a bent rod, like I said. It can also indicate worn wrist pin bushings. Now we've got the top end off. These connecting rods that originally came with, have I lost it?
No, you got
These connecting rods that originally came with this style motor up until 1973, from eye to eye, from the big end of the rod to the little end, were 7.470 inches long, eye to eye, 4.470. In 1974, they changed that to 7.440, and they changed the wrist pin location in the pistons by 30 thousandths. So they reduced the length of the rod by 30 and changed. But in the aftermarket world that we're now dealing with, you don't know where the wrist pin is anymore, checking your wrist pin deck height. So what we see here is a stamping on the connecting rod, and it has 24290-74. That -74, is it on?
Yeah.
That -74 is 1974, meaning it has the shorter rod. So when you look at your manual, and I'm sure you all own a manual, it will indicate you have 8.75 to 1 compression ratio. But you might not, because somebody may have rebuilt it with a 30 thousandth shorter rod. So you need to check those things, or at least know where you are, especially when you start to choose your camshaft. Where we are now is we're going to remove the gear case cover, the tappet blocks, the gear case cover. And as I indicated yesterday, because we don't know who built this motor, we don't know how they assembled it. Is it anti-seize, oil, nothing, silicone? We don't know. Loctite with primer. So I take MAP gas and I heat all my fastener areas. And believe me, you can tell the difference upon removal. We don't want to scar any of our hardware. We don't want to scar the gear case cover. So we fit the tools to fit the hardware, no matter what it takes, so we don't lose contact. And we're going to warm it up so we're not having to put too much pressure on it. These fasteners right here should be 80 to 110 inch-pounds. Same with the gear case cover, or the lifter blocks. And on the oil pump, they should be 80 to 110 inch-pounds. The top two should be 80 inch-pounds. If you don't have an 80 or an inch-pound torque wrench, get somebody to get you one. Christmas is coming. All right, I'm going to warm these up now. I'm just warming up the case a little bit. I'm not making it super hot.
We've got some guys watching you with great interest. I know Jeff Quilty is watching you. making sure that you're getting all this done right. Heather, who else do we have on there? Anthony Cantarella. Mailman Kevin O'Brien is watching. Mailman. Don Bashline just joined us.
Hey, if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask.
And the legendary Joe Smith.
Joe!
Look at that.
Joe!
Joe Smith.
That was my hero when I was a kid. And I built, he's going to hate me for this because he's so mad at him 45 years later. Remember the Revell Knucklehead Dragster model? They copied Joe's bike. He didn't get a penny from it. He's still angry about it.
He should be.
I agree. And I have that model. I have the model that I had when I was 13 years old.
Now, what years were Panhead motors built?
1948 to 1965. 65 being the last year, first year of the electric start, Harley Davidson.
All right. Yesterday we found out, this is Chris Callan, Cycle Source Magazine. This is his motor. His lovely bride Heather speaks to me in my little earpiece from the production trailer back there. But yesterday she gave Chris an open checkbook to repair this motor. So, but she also says she thinks it cost us her vacation this year. So
we could run one of these for 2 days. I'm telling you.
What's that?
All right, you want to start doing this? I want to talk to him a little bit.
What improvements were made when they moved to the
All right, I got my good friend Dana Peters works with me up there in Dothan. Y'all, you know where Dothan, Alabama is? Anybody know where Dothan is? No? It's in the southeast corner of Alabama, 18 miles from Florida, 18 miles from Georgia. It's where you don't lose your old lady, you just lose your turn. Ba-doom.
That's terrible. Terrible.
I'm glad to know old Joe's watching. I love that guy.
Yeah. Heather says having this motor nice and back in the ticket, the bike that it's going back into will be much more therapeutic than that vacation she's going to miss. So just be a different kind of vacation.
All right, for y'all that weren't here yesterday, we've all seen the screwdriver gouges when people are trying to separate cases or whatever it may be, automobile, lawnmowers. What I like to use are putty knives, and I get them and I shape them myself. I make some sharp, some a little blunted. I round the corners, and the reason I do it is it doesn't leave any marks in the base material, the aluminum or the component that you're removing. And you can drive it up, and it spreads the load evenly, and you can just work it around. But it's really beneficial, and it stops from doing any damage. So that's what we're going to do now. We have the lifter block. All the hardware is removed from the lifter block.
And we talk about this all the time on Grease and Gears Garage.
I'm barely tapping this.
Yeah, if you use a hammer, tap.
And the reason I use this hammer, I've had it since I was a kid, and it's a Firestone. It's pretty cool.
I see people go at motorcycles
now
with hammers.
Now I'm just going to lift a little bit with this. And out we come. I'm holding the two lifters with my hand, or they would drop out the bottom. I don't want them to drop out. I don't want them to move. I want them to be in the area or in the position that they've been running in, because I want to inspect that later on. I want to see what was running, how it was, where's the wear patterns. There's something else about this. I'd love to share this. A lot of the aftermarket lifter blocks do not come with this. This is an aftermarket lifter block. If you have some push rod leakage, especially at the bottom, and you're not draining, you know it's a problem of not draining fast enough. It's not the condition of the O-rings. They can be cork or Buna. You'll see two drain holes down here. A lot of lifter blocks do not come with those two drain holes. You get an 1/8" aircraft extension bit so your chuck doesn't hit your chrome and booger it up. I've never done that. And these are compound holes. You'll feel them go through each other. They'll intersect, and that will help your drainage on your lifter block. You really need to do that update if you haven't. These are solid lifters. I'm going to hold it this way. These are solid lifters. There is no hydraulic unit in it, and the reason being, they didn't come out with the hydraulic lifter in the Panhead until 1953. But they were hydraulic engines. The hydraulic unit used to be at the top of the push rod. I have a collection of them, and they're kind of worthless, but they're really cool. All right, I'm going to remove the front lifter block. Just tapping, just barely. Came off easily. Same thing. Does have the 2 holes, just inspecting. And I'm going to leave these like this. So what I will do, as we put them into a labeled bag, I take a rubber band, I wrap around them so they just can't move. They can't fall out. All right. I'm just going to do a quick inspection on the inside of the gear case. Move the cam back and forth just to see, just an inspection. Now we're going to remove the gear case cover. We need to take those out because we're fixing to drop the oil. So they'll go into baggies. All right. Yeah. Got to give Dana a little bit here to put all the components up. Good morning.
Oh, he's got it in his pocket. He's got one right here behind you.
Yep. Well, no front or rear. Okay, you got it.
Right on.
Okay, this is the tool that I'm talking about. I have a gaggle of these, and they're really fitted for everything. I get drag links in these, and I simply fit these to all of these components. I have a collection of them. I didn't know what Chris was going to be running, so I brought about 6. This will fit his hardware properly. And if you can see this, you will see where screwdrivers have a witness mark because it didn't fill the full area of this. And we want to fill the whole thing. And I don't care if you have to weld it, extend it, and then grind it back down, fit that gap. So
that was the last guy that did that.
Yeah, it wasn't Chris. Chris didn't do that. Now, Barry, you're involved with the Race of Gentlemen and Sons of Speed, correct?
With who?
Sons of Speed
Oh,
and
yeah.
with the Race of Gentlemen.
Oh,
You do
yeah.
both of those, get a lot of bikes. Speak about that. How about your involvement with those things?
Well, Billy Lane started the Sons of Speed, and he asked me if I would come down to help for a couple days. It ends up being 30-hour days. We sleep on the floor. He doesn't have a clock in his shop. There's no concept of time because you can't see light or day. It's cold coffee. Warm bourbon. Cold hamburgers. We sleep on the floor. Cats, my dog. I can't think of a better experience, quite frankly. And you look around, and it's everybody. It's Paul Cox. It's Rick Petco. All these people. Chris. It's just all these people you love and admire and look up to, and they're all sleeping on the floor. It's a hate-love affair, and as soon as it's over, you can't wait for it to start again. Lots of work, though. Lots of work.
I don't know. My brother's an East Coast Florida guy, and I know there's this East Coast, West Coast thing you got with Daytona and Leesburg Bikefest, but that's Sons of Speed. If you haven't been to that, that's amazing. Down there at New Smyrna during Bike Week, Billy does a good job with that. Fabulous time. He added a couple of classes this year. He had flatheads and modified 61s running this year. Fascinating, though, watching the vintage bikes race. It's just a ton of fun. It's more fun than you should be allowed to have for $20.
You can pull these out or take this right here, Dana. Dana, over here. All right, we can go ahead and start removing those then.
And we, Progressive Motorcycle Insurance, I used to do a lot of work with them as their spokesperson, but they're over there today. They're braiding hair and polishing boots and giving beard trims and airbrushing tattoos and doing all kinds of stuff. And I know it's insurance is a hard thing to kind of be around, but boy, I tell you, they sure do support motorcycles well at these events. They provided this stage. They've provided Flo's Chop Shop. They're the title sponsor here for insurance at Leesburg Bikefest. So don't forget to go over and give them some love. And if you're inclined to social media, give them love there at Progressive MC, Progressive for MC for motorcycle.
I can explain more about the Sons of Speed. Are any of y'all familiar with the Sons of Speed races during Daytona or Biketoberfest? Yes, no? Do that. Thank you, lady. What they're doing is bringing back board track motorcycles. They don't have brakes. They don't have clutches. They go up to 1928, and they're running clincher wheels, and it's Indians, Excelsors, Harley Davidson. It's really, really, really neat stuff, and they are as dangerous now as they were back in the day. But this year they added the 45 class, the flathead 45, and I built a motor for it, a 1937, just a standard W engine. We had the cam lobes made for us, and then I put the cam lobes on the old cam shafts, ground off the old lobe, put them on, degreed them in, welded them in. And we did a lap at Volusia County. It's a asphalt track, half mile. We did a lap of 25.8 and 26.2 for an average of 101 miles an hour. This thing used to be a Harley Davidson three-wheeler. We were going averaging 101 on an oval. But we have that engine back at the shop now. We broke a primary chain, shifted the flywheel, all the fun racing stuff. And we're going to go to the Race of Gentlemen. I don't know if y'all are familiar with that, but you need to check up on the Race of Gentlemen. It's up in New Jersey. It's a quarter-mile drag race on the beach. I don't know if it gets any cooler than that, but that's what we're going to do. So I'm setting that motor back up, and then next weekend we come down to Daytona, and the police are going to let us test on the beach to set our gear ratios up and our timing and carburation and stuff, because we've never done this before. This will be the first time we've ever done it. So looking forward to that. But that's the Race of Gentlemen. It's normally known of as TROG, and that's the up-and-coming excitement.
How did you get the opportunity to practice on the beach in Daytona?
Billy asked the police.
Oh, Billy just asked the police department.
Yeah,
oh, yeah.
To come out and watch.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, must have asked a motorcycle cop. Yeah. So now, will the public be able to come out and watch that, or is that going to?
No, it'll be private.
No, it's going to be private. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just we're going to be taking. We're in a learning curve. We're trying to compete with these guys that have been doing this stuff. You know?
Yeah.
But
sounds like fun though. Getting to race on the beach.
At Daytona, we really had a fast motorcycle. We were in second place until
I was there.
Until it locked up, man. We had it. eBay Jake.
Yeah.
Had it on a string, man. He was reeling him in, and then he rode a zero real quick. But
yeah, that's racing though, man. That's racing. So that's a nice track there, New Smyrna. That's a nice track to.
No, I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
To do that.
And it's up in Sturgis now too. That's dirt.
Right.
But I saw yesterday they're going to start one in Fredericksburg, Texas.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Vintage race. Kirk Sharp posted that.
Okay.
I saw
yeah, out in Sturgis, that's a lot of fun.
Oh yeah. That's the stuff we can't talk about.
May 2019, Vintage Fandango out there in Texas.
That's it.
That's
it. Somebody's in your ear.
Yeah, somebody's in my ear.
Oh man.
No, I'm just that smart.
Than me.
I had Google installed in me. I just Google myself now.
Okay. Dana has removed all the screws. You can see the oil coming out of the gear case cover. We have no idea how much is going to come out. So have you got my big brass punch. Is it in the bottom of my box here? Yeah. All right. I'm just going to reach in through where the generator goes. I'm just going to tap the gear case cover. I can hear it letting go. The gear case cover has two dowels. Sometimes it can be incredibly tough to get off, but not very agreeable. But we'll go down here with the... Now I want you to see how easily these putty knives go in there if you take the time to shape them. It's not pushing the gasket in. It's going between the gasket and the gear case cover. And now watch this. And I can work it a little bit. I'm not trying to do it fast. I don't want to hurt anything. If I just go around the whole gear case cover.
If your grandmother was born in 1949, would you whack her with a hammer?
Yeah. Chris said if your grandmother was born in 1949, would you whack her with a hammer as hard as you could? Of course not. So you would tap your grandmother with a hammer. I don't even want it. Somebody's going to now get a snippet of that audio right there.
I wouldn't have done that.
I wouldn't have.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have said any of that
I would have
again.
left that one in the notebook.
Heather says you might have been knocked with a hammer by Tay-Tay when you were little.
All right, the gear case cover is starting to come off. Now what can come out with it will be the rotary breather spacer. That always happens. And the camshaft. So we're going to try to keep all the gears in place with the cover coming off. And it's being pretty agreeable. But the day ain't over. I'm going to look down between the gear case cover. Make sure I can push my gears and spacers back into place.
Look at you.
And here we go. This is an original Harley-Davidson gear case cover. It's a 97-403. It's made by Alcoa. Yes, that Alcoa. It's a side oiler only, meaning it gets its oil every 360 degrees. It gets one shot of oil in the side of the pinion shaft. With this 73 and up style oil pump, this is not an original oil pump to this engine. It's a 73 and up. Flows a lot more than the original. This could have been converted to an end oiler pinion shaft where the rods get oil all the time. If you try to convert the pinion shaft to an end oiler where it gets oil all the time with the original pump, you will not have, you'll have very little oil pressure. They don't make a gauge that will register it, I don't believe.
So now when you're putting this back together, will you go ahead and complete that conversion?
Oh yeah, we'll make a list of things. As we do all of this, we'll sit down and we're cleaning the components. We'll make a list of what we're going to change, what was good, what wasn't good, why it worked, why it didn't work, and come up with a new recipe. And then whatever he would want it to his application, whatever he's going to use it for.
So far, have you run into anything that the last guy that built this motor did that was egregiously wrong?
Nice job. The heads are really nice. Yeah.
Okay.
Nice. Yeah.
All right.
To make oil passages in these covers and in these crankcases, the reason I'm giving this example right now is because I'm holding it in my hand, one of them. They're called compound holes. You have to get a hole here so the oil can run through it. So they drill through this way, then they drill this, and that's how you get the oil. Then they drill through here to vent the crankcase. Well, they have to block off these holes somehow. And they do it with small freeze plugs, and they're steel. When I rebuild the engines at my shop, I remove every one of these plugs. I put back original ones where they go. I weld them up if they have to be welded. Depends on the look. If it's a late model motor and we want to make it serviceable, I'll drill it, tap it, and put a set screw in it so we can remove it and service that area. You would not believe the contamination that I find inside of heads, gear case covers, and crankcases. I'm telling you, we're starting a new YouTube show, and I can do a whole hour on the filth and the contamination inside of these engines in these galleyways. So I highly recommend doing that. And washing it ain't gonna work. All right, what we have here is a spacer. We're gonna need more baggage, buddy.
Gallon or small?
The small one. I'm just gonna put the gears in them.
You guys need to check out Barry's YouTube channel when he gets it going, though, because he tells me it's not just going to be motorcycles and stuff like that. They're going to talk about cooking and drinking and women and animals and all kinds of stuff. They're going to have a good time on there.
We have, at the shop, we have I have a dog that rides on my motorcycle with me. In fact, when we met, I was riding with another dog 30-something years ago. Rides on my gas tank. And her name is Molly. And then we have the Diva, which is a blooming cat. Well, we don't have any mice, I can assure you that. And she does whatever. And then we have an Eastern Diamondback rattlesnake. And of January 1st of this year, the Eastern Diamondback became number 2 out of 5, leveled number 2 on the endangered species list. I was in California, and I get a call, and it's my girlfriend. She says, wildlife and game are at the shop. And I go, oh, this is lovely. You know, they're just cops dressed in green. It's at the snake, and it was about the snake. And so I had it for so long. My son and I got it years and years ago. It was small. People were going to kill it. I just brought it back to the shop. He's a freaking monster. His name's Hannibal. His temperament is like an angry teenager listening to Black Sabbath on Volume 11. He just doesn't like anything. But I love him. So now the state of Alabama has given me a license, which is proudly displayed above my snake, that I don't have a dog with papers, but I got a snake with papers. It's pretty cool. And he's the head of security. Okay, I've removed the clip off of this shaft. I'll remove the spacer. You can set these end plays up with small shims. This one has not been done. This is called the intermediate gear. It drives the generator. Generator gear would be coming through this hole that you see up front. The camshaft, and the camshaft has a variable washer in the back. I like to run these about 7 to 10,000. I don't like them too tight. It has holes in the gear. This is called a lightning gear. This is probably aftermarket. I'm sure that it is. But we do this at our shop. We do the lightning gears on the intermediate, on the circuit breaker drive gear that I'm fixing to show you. And now I'm looking at the lobes. They look nice. They look very nice. We're looking at the indicated wear on all the lobes, on the shaft end, the teeth, and it looks good. But once we clean it, that's when we'll really do the true inspection. We'll get its own bag. Up, I want you to see this. These are held in with slotted screws. This shaft and this shaft. And you can remember this if you guys work on this stuff by this is how I remember it.
All right.
Is by the letter L. 59 to 69 is the later model generator style motor. In 1970 they came out with the nose cone. So 59 to 69 is the late generator. I do late to this. The circuit breaker drive gear is a left-hand thread from 59 to 69. Late left, that's how I remember it. But notice that they're all loose. And when this one's loose, it'll leak out the back behind the generator, and this one's leaking because this is a through hole. So what we have here is the circuit breaker, drive gear, shaft is loose, and the intermediate gear is loose.
We got about 15 minutes.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah, and all these, you know, I know you think you're popular because all these guys are sitting down here watching you do this motor, but there's a bunch of pretty women they're about to bring up here at noon. So, yeah, well, you're going to get more and more popular as noon gets closer.
Yeah, I know why y'all are really here.
Hey, that's why he picked this slot.
But we're not going to make it. We ain't going to make it to the flywheels.
We got more stuff. We're going to put you in more later on.
We're going to make you work, Barry.
Okay.
You guys can give you more time for that.
All right. Well, I'm being run off because they're bringing up girls with bikinis. Now, what do you really want to see? Okay.
Don't answer that. It'll hurt his
do it.
feelings.
Don't do it to me.
We still got some time. That was the one I was thinking had the weird.
Want to remind you
They're
while
all
he's
loose.
doing that,
They're all coming
Progressive
out, yeah.
Motorcycle Insurance
So I'll
is
show you how to
giving
really
away a
make them
brand new
stay
Indian
and
Scout.
could do a whole
All you got to
show
do is go
on
see
lock
one of the
timers,
lovely
lock
Progressive
timers,
girls
and
over
what
there
really
and fill
works.
out your
And they
your
work,
information.
and you don't need 'em.
You could win a brand new motorcycle at this event. So go on over there and fill out that
This is the
information. You
clip.
can also get your
I
hair
don't mind the
braided,
clip,
your
but I like to run a
beard
little bit of
trimmed,
inlay. I like that
get an
just
airbrush
plain
tattoo, get
But
your
this
boots
is good.
polished.
There's nothing wrong.
A lot of fun.
Whoever did it did a nice job. But a lot of this stuff is Ted's. And, you know, I ain't jumping up and down about it. But I'd like to show you how eccentric this can be. It's interesting. Okay. Ready? Am I out again? 10 minutes. Okay. All right. We removed the circuit
I
breaker
got my
drive
timer
gear.
on.
This is the drive gear that drives the circuit breaker. A lot of people call it the distributor. And I've got about 5 minutes left. Pinion gear, spacer and spring. It's not held on with a nut. Oil pump drive gear. won't be able to pull it. Not too bad. A little silicone. Looks like something that came off of the pan gasket. Yeah, a little silicone, not bad.
It's got to get really loud here, right in this area. It's about to get really loud.
All right, you want to
Let's
do it
just
right now? And we'll start it back.
Yeah, we'll just start it back. We're going to bring him back up. This is about to get really loud. Barry, thank you for what you've given us so far.
Thank you so much.
Check us out on Grease and Gears Garage YouTube. Progressive MC is carrying us on the interweb. So come back and see us. Check us out. Cycle Source Magazine also has us. Thank you.